Hello and welcome back to the David67 Celtic News YouTube channel. Today's video going to be a wee look at last night's 3-2 friendly win for Celtic over against Sligo Rovers. We look at who may well have pushed themselves forward for more regular first team experience and playing time, who may well have put themselves to the back of the queue, which of the younger players impressed, and my general thoughts regarding the game. Also, we update on a couple of other wee Celtic news stories and just a mention of the Celtic players who are potentially playing tonight in the first round of international games of this international break. Before we do crack on with the video, please just, if you are new to the channel and not yet subscribed, please do click that subscriber button, getting very close to the 1050 level, which would be a nice wee thing to achieve by next week. If you do like the video, please do click that like button. Comment section, as usual, open for pleasant, polite debating points, opinions, thoughts regarding the Sligo match last night, who may well have gained some credit with Brendan Rodgers, who may well have lost some credit with Brendan Rodgers, and what your thoughts are regarding the couple of other news stories relating to Celtic circulating at the moment. Celtic went off for a friendly match last night against Sligo Rovers. They won 3-2 in the end. A game that was intended to give some of the fringe players and backup players some game time. They'll be getting apparently a couple of days break and then back into training in preparation for the Aberdeen match in 9 days' time. Celtic started quite brightly, going 1-0 up after 9 minutes. Nice cross from Yang, set up by a pass by Luke McCowan. Yang knocked the ball right across the Sligo box, and PALMA came in at the back post and very calmly slotted it away to give Celtic a 1-0 lead after around 9 minutes. However, rather than this allowing Celtic to kick on and get more and more domination, Sligo got very much back into the game, scoring in the 15th minute through Barlow, a shot that should really have been very easily saved by Scott Bain in the goals. Instead, he lets the ball slip through his hands, neither saving the ball nor pushing the ball over the bar, and basically letting the ball right through his hands into the top corner. A very, very weak goal. Some very poor defending from Celtic's back four, primarily the two experienced centre-backs, Navrocki and Welsh, allowing the Sligo players room to make the shot. Then, rather than Celtic coming back into the game, Sligo remained very much on top and scored a second goal through power in the 27th minute. Again, some very poor defending out on Celtic's right. Again, poor defending by Navrocki and Welsh in the middle, neither really taking control, allowed Power a shot from the edge of the box. Should again have been very easily saved by Scott Bain, but he seemed to dive over the ball and the ball sneaked in at his right-hand post. So Sligo going 2-1 up, and Sligo actually had a couple of more chances, could have extended the lead to 3-1. Scott Bain did make a nice wee save, and later in the second half, again when Welsh and Navrocki were posted missing, very poor defending through the middle, allowed Sligo players through, and this time rather poor shot by the Sligo player, and Scott Bain managed to stick his leg out and block the ball from going in. Celtic did make a few changes. Alex Valley came off at half-time, having had a pretty good first half, all things considered. Brought on some of the younger players, none whom really impressed. Although there were a few nice touches from a couple of the youngsters, none of them who came on as subs really pushed themselves forward as needing further first team exposure. However, Celtic did score an equaliser in the 89th minute. Nice cross by McCardle, picking out Luis Palma at the back post, and Palma knocked the ball away to go 2-2. And in 2 minutes into added time, moved down the right hand side with Yang setting up Izaguzo. A nice ball across the box by Izaguzo, again picking out Luis Palma at the back post to give Celtic a 3-2 win. In his post-match interview, Brendan Rodgers kind of acknowledging the fact that Celtic played rather poorly, not really singling out any players for praise or criticism. Did say it was good that they played better, quicker, faster football in the second half and pulled out their victory, and did acknowledge that it was good experience for some of these younger players, but they still had quite a gulf to step up to reach first team level. My own thoughts were it was a good chance for several players to push themselves forward into first team reckoning. Mike Nawrocki and Stephen Welsh had a chance to establish themselves as the definite fourth choice player, especially with Cameron Carter-Vickers having been struggling with injuries. There was a real chance that one of those two could really push themselves forward to be the regular backup centre-back until Carter-Vickers got back fit. Neither played well for me, neither really showed the correct levels of skill, leadership, etc. This was Welsh as Celtic captain on the night. I thought he and Nawrocki were both very disappointing. Luke McCowan played the whole game in central midfield. I thought he actually had a pretty good game. Not quite as good as I was hoping for, given the level of opposition, but he was involved in a few nice moves. He was partly responsible for the first goal, did have a nice shot on goal that was very well headed off the line. It would have put Celtic level in the second half. Alex Valley had a good first half, played 45 minutes, taken off at half time. He did play, I think, quite well, particularly in defence. I think he's pushing himself forward to be a regular deputy, if not the first choice at left back. Yang had, for the most part, a good game. He was involved in setting up the first goal and the third goal, partly. He also had a nice back post header in the first half when set up by a brilliant cross by Luis Palma, but he missed that. And in the second half, he was put clean through one-on-one with the goalkeeper, but managed to knock the ball over the bar rather than into the net. But Yang has come out with credit from that game as one of the backup wide players. I think the main player who's going to come out of the game with credit is Luis Palma. Scored 3 goals, a couple of really nice crosses that his teammates failed to take advantage of. Looked quite busy, had a nice free kick in the second half as well, and did set up a couple of chances, as I was saying, for teammates, which weren't taken. Not surprisingly, however, given the way that Celtic fans have been reacting to Luis Palma in the last few months, quite a few fan message boards were quite critical of Luis Palma, kind of saying all he did was score 3 goals, which kind of is, for me, the point of the game is to score goals. And so I think overall, Luis Palma deserves a lot of credit. He turned down the opportunity to go off to play for Honduras, to stay in Glasgow for the international break, to work on his fitness, endurance and skills, and to push himself forward in Brendan Rodgers' pecking order for wide players. And the one player who comes from the Academy B team, who really has pushed himself forward for me, is Francis Tardley, the young attacking midfielder. He was involved in many of Celtic's good moves throughout the game. And I think he is the one of the young players who's pushed himself forward into the first team squad, similar to the way that Rocco Vata and Daniel Kelly both did in the second half of last season. I wouldn't be too surprised if Turley starts appearing more and more often in the matchday squad and making some substitute appearances. Would be great to see what you feel yourselves regarding any players who've pushed themselves forward, any players who may have slipped back, what your own thoughts were regarding the performances of players such as Lewis Palma, Yang McCowan, Valley, and the two experienced central defenders. I think one player also who very much has fallen down the pecking order has to be Scott Bain. Two atrocious mistakes to gift Sligo two goals that should never have been given away. Admittedly, the Sligo players should never have got close enough to make those shots. However, both were saves that any goalkeeper should be making 999 times out of 1,000. And if Scott Bain ever has to be keeping goal for Celtic over the next few months, I will be rather concerned we're going to be shipping goals against higher level opposition. Few wee other news stories to relate regarding Celtic. Celtic are said to be lining up a man called Paul Tidsdale as a director of footballing operations. He has a previous playing career for teams such as Southampton, but primarily played for lower division teams. He's managed a number of clubs again in lower levels of English football, primarily Exeter City, but did manage a few other teams, but never managed at the highest level. He, however, is being scouted by Celtic to take over as a director of footballing operations. This seems to be a job involving overseeing player recruitment, player development, coaching staff development, and a role linking player development, scouting, and player recruitment. And he is also thought to have quite a reputation in terms of data analysis of players and has apparently a very extensive scouting network. I have to say, I've never really heard of Paul Tisdale before. There does seem to be quite a lot of enthusiasm from Celtic fan sites and from footballing journalists. Another interesting story coming out over the last 48 hours is that Celtic have turned down the offer from Premier Sports to cover the Celtic against Aberdeen game on the 19th of October, which will be our first game back after the international break. The proposal was moving the 3 o'clock Saturday kickoff to an evening kickoff on Saturday so that Premier Sports could cover the game live as part of their contract, where apparently they can offer live coverage of a couple of games over and above their allotted number of games for each Scottish Premiership team. However, Celtic have turned down the money offer, which I think was £75,000, saying that they want to maintain regular fixtures on Saturday afternoons at 3 p.m. for fans rather than having lots of lunchtime kickoffs, Sunday games, and evening kickoffs, which can be very inconvenient for fans, particularly if they're travelling from elsewhere in Scotland or from Ireland or from Europe. So I fully applaud the Celtic board, the Celtic money people for turning down the financial offer and putting the fans first and putting financial consideration second. So for me, I applaud the club for doing that, thinking of the fans first. Last wee thing is just to update on the Celtic players currently away on international duty who could be potentially playing this evening. In the European section, Finland are playing Ireland, though Jami Sinisalo may well start in goals for Finland, and it would be expected that Liam Scales starts in defence for Ireland, with either potentially as a starter or coming off the bench. Also, potentially playing this evening is Arnie Engels. He's in the Belgium squad for their away game against Italy. He will come on as a late sub like he did a couple of games ago for Belgium. And finally, this evening, Rio Hitati and Daisen Maida will be playing for Japan in the Asian section of World Cup qualifying. They've got an away game against Saudi Arabia. Daisen Maida has been starting regularly for Japan, and if not as a starter, he has been coming off the bench each game. Rio Hitati had been appearing sometimes as a starter, sometimes as a sub. But the last two games he was in the squad, but was an unused sub both times. Hopefully, given the travelling distances, hopefully that Maeda and Hitati do get some game time over the next couple of Japanese World Cup qualifiers, and hopefully both also come back fully fit for the Aberdeen game in 9 days' time. I will do a wee update on how our various players are doing in the international games, and I'll do a wee update on any other Celtic news as it develops over the next 24-48 hours, and also planning one or two wee other ideas just to keep things going over the international break, where news is often quite limited. Just to finish off, another wee polite reminder, encouragement, suggestion: if you are new to the channel, please do click that subscriber button. One or two new subscribers every day really makes me so happy, and when we got 7 new subscribers a couple of days ago, that made me even happier. So please do keep on clicking that subscriber button. Do click the like button, as it does help with YouTube analytics and spreading the channel to more and more fans. And finally, comment section open as usual for pleasant, polite thoughts, opinions, debating points regarding Celtic, last night's friendly, and any other issues you wish to raise and discuss. And so until the next video, a goodbye and hail, hail.